Hi, Nawa, and welcome to the Good in Motion podcast. I'm so happy we get to chat today. We're going to have a great conversation. I can feel it. And yeah, I say Nawa because we've known each other for a few months now. But to my listeners, I want to introduce you to Nawa Nicole Simon, who is here to talk with us about what she does and why it's important. And I know I'm being very secretive right now, but everybody will understand shortly what we're talking about. So yes, Nawa, thank you for being here again. And can you tell us more about what you do?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Juliette, for having me. I'm so excited. I'm so proud as well too to hear from the seeds of starting this to being a guest. So thank you so much for allowing me to participate. Yes, so my name is Nawa Nicole Simon. I'm a personal trainer. My story is a little different than most in terms of becoming a personal trainer. But I think it ties very much into the reason why I do it and the importance of personal training overall. So I've been in the industry for about 14 years as a trainer,
Wow.
15 years as in the fitness industry. But I came from an arts background, arts and dance background. I'm a nerdy arts kid, theater kid, movement, dance, all that sort of stuff. And I loved it so very much and still love it to this day. But when you get into a point where, you're having to pay bills and all that sort of stuff, I was saying, let's look at something else that can supplement what, the other arts that I love. And it's so funny because I rejected it so fiercely in the beginning, just thinking that fitness is for athletes. And for those who just want to get big and bulky and all that sort of stuff. And I quickly learned that my dance teaching skills translated really well into personal training. First of all, I love helping people. I actually absolutely love it. It just gives me so much joy. So seeing my clients progress is just one of the things that makes me smile. So helping people was one of the catalysts as well. And when I got started into doing it, I found that my form and technique eye that I had from movement and dance really translated into helping people make sure that they're safe, which was the main thing. I wasn't really focused, and I don't really focus now on a lot of people who are big time exercisers. I don't have a lot of those type of clients. I mostly have people who are intimidated. So first time movers, or people who have been injured in the past, that sort of stuff. So they're a little bit gun shy. So this is why the form and technique are very important. So they know how to move their bodies. They're building neuromuscular connections. Or the brain and muscles are talking to each other, and they just build confidence so that they can move in space feeling better. Yeah, so it just became addictive. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I was with a few other companies, and their focus seemed a little bit more salesy and money-y, which, I love sales, I love money, but, the heart of it is making people feel really good. Yeah, so then I moved to doing online because of the pandemic, which, brought out a lot of improvisational skills to be able to use things in people's homes at a whim, help people just move and just feel better because, movement, especially over a sort of depressive time over a pandemic, can be really, really helpful to people. And and then I moved back into one-on-one as well as online. And it's been phenomenal. The company that I work with right now, it's only women, so it's very niche as well too. So we talk about a whole bunch of other things on top of just the fitness in terms of home life, in terms of stress management, hormone levels, perimenopause, having children, all that sort of stuff. So it really, really gives me a chance to expand my knowledge as well. And with that knowledge, be able to help people even more.
I love that. There's so much to unpack right now. So I just start with the first questions that came to mind. You say that you have a unusual background to go into personal training, and you talked about the art. So is it when you say dance, and I know also from our conversation that there is a cinema and acting in it.
Yes.
So are you referring specifically to this, to your art background?
Yeah. So I went to school for theater performance. I went to high school. I went to an arts high school, and then auditioned for theater for college. I went to Humber and graduated from there, and had a pretty solid, nice career. Got into doing dance as part of that. I've sort of been a little bit more active in terms of kids do like sports and soccer and all that sort of stuff. I was the I'm going to dance girl. So I didn't have piano recitals. I had performances. So I was never really audience shy, and the movement moved into a bit of theater work. So I've done theater work, I've done film and television, I've done commercials, dance performances, tours, theater for young audiences, like all of that stuff.
Yeah, and with what you were saying after that, you really love helping clients, specifically the ones who kind of start again after an injury or who are just shy and kind of get started. I think it's it's very special with that art background and theater and dance. I mean, I just guess, but I feel that it serves you to bring that confidence to your clients.
Absolutely. Yes, because it's an industry where it's very important that the trainers themselves are experts, and not experts in a egotistical type of way, but really that they are using their resources that they have. They're like getting their certifications, they're having continuing education, they're really steeping themselves in the work that they're doing. So there can be a little bit of the other side of being a little bit arrogant, like, oh, I'm in better shape than you, so therefore I know more than you, which is not necessarily the case. But yeah, it's interesting that the two kind of like melded together for me, because I was able to help people who were injured and just look at their bodies and be like, oh, this particular area hurts or doesn't feel well. And a lot of clients be like, how do you know that? I'm like, I can tell.
Yeah, and you've been my trainer for now, I believe, 6 months. And I actually, you know what, I've never realized that indeed I didn't feel any ego like you just mentioned. I always felt like you're here to support me.
Right.
I can be very transparent about how I feel that day or what I don't really like, but while still being challenged. And so you completely made me forget about that more intimidating side of fitness that some other people can feel, which is great.
Nice. Yeah. And that's the goal. That's the goal, that it's not, a big bag trainer being like, you're late, or, 20 more. It's about like, how many.
You had a burger this weekend.
Yeah, you had a burger. No, not you. Meanwhile, I'm eating a burger, right?
Oh, no.
So just being realistic with things as well too. One of the big things that I like to employ is just meeting my clients where they're at. So like if you're a burger eating, 5-minute, 10-minute late lady, it's who you are. We work on what you feel you can work on. But it's a challenge that's just at a good clip so that you're not disengaged. So it's not too easy and also not too hard.
Yeah. And it's the ideal balance for sustainability.
Exactly.
And also, when I was introduced to you and before we got matched for the personal training, so I was told that you were doing, and tell me if I don't pronounce it correctly, fascia.
Fascia, yes. Yes.
Fascia. And just to be honest, I really thought, I was excited because I thought that it was for the face. Like we would do some type of face stretching. And I was thinking, great, no wrinkles. I'm gonna work on my face stretching. I was really excited, but then I actually learned that it's not at all that. So could you explain to us what is fascia?
Yes. So the therapy is called fascial stretch therapy. So FST. So fascia, it's not a beauty a beauty product or a service. But what it does do is help you move better. So fascial stretch therapy is something that takes the fascia. So fascia is like a sheath that's over our muscles. And because we're creatures that sit a lot, typically it gets tight in our hips, our joints, like our shoulders, things like that. So it's pretty much an assisted stretch. Clothes are on. All you need to do is literally just lay down and ragdoll yourself. And I pull and manipulate the joints, so like your legs, your arms, shoulders, like that, hips, so that the fascia loosens up. And once it loosens up, a lot of my feedback that I get is like, people are like, oh, I feel all loosey goosey. I feel kind of wobbly. You can kind of feel like a little bit like drunk afterwards, just because it releases a lot of tension. So fascia is that sheath over the muscles, and it can get tense based on hydration, based on tension levels, and it's sort of pulled back and forth between joints. So yeah, with this assisted stretch, it helps to sort of loosen where it ends up being tight. And then it's a great way for me to assess a client's body as well too. So if you're constantly saying, for example, like upper back is really, really tight, maybe we'll do an FST session and we find out that's actually in your shoulders, or it's actually in your neck, or in your chest. The other areas are just pulling into that area because everything is connected. We sometimes think that, oh, if I have an injury, or not necessarily injury, but pain or discomfort in one particular area, that it's that particular area that is the problem. And more often than not, through my 15 years, I've noticed that it's usually the muscles, joints, ligaments, and fascia around that pain area or pain point.
When you say you then schedule a FST session, does that mean like you take a full hour to properly work on this stretching?
Yeah. So typically, all my clients get fascia stretch therapy as part of their sessions anyway. So for example, if you come in, you're like, oh my gosh, my hips, I don't know what's going on. I'll typically like do what I can really quickly so we can go through the session. But if we book a session together, it's typically like an hour, 55 minutes. And we talk about we do an assessment of like what's really, if there's a particular area of discomfort, or if it's just a full body sort of tension release sort of thing, then I do full body as well.
Okay. And do you recommend a certain frequency? Except like I know we practice this, so like you said at the beginning of our session, but is there a more recommended frequency?
And that's a great question. It's actually very, very personal. So I've done fascial stretch therapy on folks who are very tense, but also don't feel very comfortable being touched. So therefore, the body tenses up even more. So it's a little bit harder to get through to letting the body release. There's some people who are tense but don't know that they're tense. So it does require, again, for you to sort of ragdoll or release all of your muscles. And I'm like, okay, like, let it go. And they're like, I am, let go. And, the arms and legs are very stiff. Then there's those who can release pretty easily. So like if I, give a prompt to release, they can let the muscles go. And then those who release but don't know that they're released. So they lay down and like they'll fall asleep. So
wow, yeah.
It's very, very
we often
personal.
hear that a massage is making you tired after, so I'm not surprised that they fall asleep after.
Exactly. It can, because with fascial release, you're not only releasing tension in the muscle. Sometimes, I've had clients who are highly stressed. We go through a session, and because of the release, they cry. There's a bit of tears, just because it is a very interconnected piece of tissue in the body.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It must unlock a lot of things that were, and even the idea of having a body that feels tight. You can think that it comes from the stress of holding on certain memories or beliefs. So I love how everything is connected, which also makes sense that you did a couple of months ago a stress management workshop. So can you tell me more about how it ties with the other things you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. The birth of my stretch management workshop, which I'm hoping to continue doing in the spring and in the fall. So I have another one coming in I think September, October. But yeah, the birth of that is just listening to my clients. The main thing that most clients are dealing with is like they can manage all these other things, but the main linchpin is stress. So learning to manage your stress levels and creating a sort of like as an outline or plan of the small things that they can do. So I'm also precision nutrition certified. I have level 1 and level 2, and it really helps trainers coach clients into habit forming. And so I found it like that was the biggest thing, like the glaring thing. Like I love exercising, I could feel really great afterwards, and then I go right back into my stressful life. And it sort of feels like, a lot of clients were mentioning that they feel like their progress is lost the moment they get back out into the world just because of the stress levels. So I decided like, let's, create a solution. And that's where that
I love that.
yeah, that's where that was born.
This is great because, I mean, again, you prove that you care so deeply about the people around you, that you listen to them and you realize there was a need from them, and you were like, okay, I'm going to study this, or get certified and create a webinar, a workshop to teach them how they can just have a less stressful life, or like
Yeah.
try to fix the cause,
Right.
which is, it's beautiful. And also, yes, that's perfect, because another question I had for you is that with that over a decade of experience, did you notice some patterns in the profile of people who come back to you, or maybe why they come to you in the first place? Like what type of advantages they see in working with a personal trainer?
Yeah, there's definitely trends. There's ebbs and flows through the time of year. So, the 3 days before summer, people are like, okay, booty gains. I want to go get my summer body. And I'm like, oh, friend, we're already here. um, there's usually a trend over the end of August, so in and around now, the end of August into September, people are like, okay, I'm gonna start,
Back to
September
school.
1st, right? Back to school, the kids are in school, or I'm getting my life together. And then the other side is February, things fall off for the January new starts. December is usually a tough time, or Thanksgiving through December tends to be a tough times in terms of like I usually, I have a family event over Thanksgiving or the holidays, and like all my nutrition goes out the window. So there's ebbs and flows in terms of the year, in terms of events in the year. There's definitely ebbs and flows in terms of trends. So CrossFit, intermittent fasting. What else? There was definitely a craze of booty gains for a lot, like literally every female I sat with for a good like 3 months was like, I want a booty. And I'm like, okay, I mean, you have one. But yeah, so there's always some sort of trend going on. But the way that I really approach it is completely individually, and I break it down into like why do we want, why do you think this is a good thing for you? Do you think this is something that can be a long sustainable habit for things like doing Mediterranean diet or this and that, those sort of things. So really just questioning why people think that this is the end all and be all, versus like just taking an honest look at what it is that you do and what's the smallest, easiest thing that we can take away. And I find that's more effective with building my clients' efficacy, self-efficacy. Because if you feel great that you're like, I had those handful of cashews and I feel great instead of that bag of chips. Like if that makes you feel, that gives you the confidence to continue on with bigger and harder habits, then I've done my job. So my goal is that, and I think I've mentioned this to you in the beginning. I think I say this to most of my clients in the beginning, is like, my goal isn't that we train forever. I do have clients who I've trained for 9 years, so like they come back to me, and we've been together for a long time. But the goal isn't necessarily that, or it isn't that so that in the way that you need me, right? you're like, I know that you're great. I'm not going to do the programming of my workouts. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I want someone here for that, but not necessarily because you're completely ignorant of what to do, right? My goal is that my clients are educated, have self-efficacy, they're proud. And if they continue to train with me, it's because they like the accountability. There's certain things that they like versus like, I don't know what to do at all. Because I feel like that's unfair, especially spending your time, energy, and money, and just literally sweat equity. I want to make sure that you feel that, once you have decided to make a move from me, that I'm leaving you better than we started.
Oh, I love that. It's so it sounds like your clients come to you because, I mean, the advantages of working with you is that they get accountability, but also they get a program.
Yes.
Because usually when you walk into a gym, if you're not used to it, there are machines, it's intimidating, there are people who just know what they're doing. Also, I know personally I was not too comfortable with showing my body. I'm slowly getting more confident about it. So seeing a lot of different, just women wearing just sports bra and like shorts, I'm very like, ooh la la, I don't know if I belong here.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're again providing this introduction. And I love that you talk about the education piece because, yeah, there's so much choice that it requires guidance.
Yeah, there's so many options out there. And my saying is, especially when someone asks me, like, what's the best one? What's the best, diet? What's the best type of workout? I'm like, the one that you can do consistently.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, even when you say that people come to you because it sounds like they often have a specific goal and deadline of what they want to achieve, but you bring them back to, okay, what is your why and how can we make it sustainable so you don't like create the hardest workout and the hardest nutrition plan to hit your goals very fast and then you go back to your previous habits. It's not what we want.
Yeah, definitely. So that, and it's great to get there, go full throttle and all that sort of stuff. But 90% of the time, like you just mentioned, that the client will be like, okay, I've got the abs, I got whatever, but I don't have the actual habits to sustain it. And if they, again, choose not to be with me for over long term, then, 6 months, I see them 6 months from the time that we worked out together and they're exactly back and sometimes regress even more from where they wanted to be. So, unless like you're training for like a show, right? Like you're training to do, something specific, but more often than not, it's, I'm a sneaky trainer. So I do have like my hidden help for you as well too. So we talk about things. I usually bring up things that are strategic, so that we're, you're hitting your goals specifically as well, but also there might be sneaky or the goals of like, hey, do you want to live till 98? I'm pretty sure you want to be able to lift things off the ground. So let's train for the old lady you.
Maybe a grandchild or a luggage to travel.
Yes, exactly. Groceries, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So if someone was on the edge of looking for that accountability, that expertise, and they're thinking about hiring a personal trainer, but maybe they think about the investments, they're just not sure, they're on the edge of trying. What would be your advice to not convince them, but just to check with them if that's something that would be a good fit?
One of the first things I do, it's kind of weird, but I make sure that you want it more than I do. So I ask things about your personality. So if you are a person who's always done, for example, group exercise, you love group exercise, you've only ever done workouts in big groups. My question would be like, why not do that? What's different now? And typically I hear things like accountability. I hear things like, oh, I've been injured. Or I've heard things like I've been doing the same class for all these years and haven't seen results. So then it's usually a process of keep asking why and uncovering the reason why, like maybe there's accountability issues. or what the things that they like about it is that it's a scheduled thing. Again, that's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing with personal training, that they don't have to think about choreography or think about movement. Again, that's another benefit of personal training. Some downsides, maybe like, there's equipment that they have to share in classes, and you don't have to do that. With all of my clients, I do give them, the utmost customer service. So they don't have to move equipment around or anything like that. So it's the pros and cons of what works best for them. But I truly work best with clients when they have convinced themselves that they want it versus me saying, this might be a good thing for you. Rarely is it me doing like a hard sell or a hard, training I think would be good for you, unless we've gone through that sort of process. And I'm like, you know what, these are the options. There's group exercise, there's, doing it on your own, and there's personal training. And sometimes it comes down to time, sometimes it comes down to finances. Again, because I can really empathize. I also had a trainer as well, myself, so I can empathize with like getting started on something like that and making that financial commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand if people need time to breathe and all of that, speak to spouses and all that sort of stuff. So I find my approach fairly gentle, just to make sure that people are making the decision that they want to make for themselves. And I try to give them, as much to fill that up so that they are getting what they pay for, getting what they've invested in.
Yeah, these are great questions that you ask, and it aligns again with what you said earlier, which is moving away from that salesy speech and just connecting with your client to see what they've tried already, why maybe it wasn't the best fit, and move forward from here.
Yeah.
So that's very beautiful.
Thank you.
As a relationship with your personal trainer. So there is a question that I ask all of my guests, and we reached that question. It's just to emphasize the idea that we need time to celebrate our achievements. So I'm asking you, Nawa, what is something you achieved, a small win that you would like to share with us?
I love helping people so much that sometimes I don't help myself enough. So one of the big things that I have done is for this year, in terms of my scheduling, is I booked out all of my holidays. I booked out vacation time. Obviously, there's family emergencies and things like that happen, but all of my holidays, I was now able to like spend quality time with the people that I love. I went strawberry picking, hanging on a boat. Like I was able to have a really great bit of quality time throughout the year because I created that space ahead of time. So I'm really proud of my time management skills for this year. That's my win.
Yeah, this is a great reminder for everyone to fill your cup first, because then you become a better person for people around you. So that's a big win.
Yeah.
It's really congratulations on doing this for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you.
If your listeners or listeners today want to learn more about you and your services, where can they find you?
They can find me on two places, Instagram as well as my website. So I post a lot on Instagram. I have two profiles. One is Nawa Actor, NAWAACTOR, and Nawa _Simon, SIMON, _ Moving People Fitness. That's the name of my company. So those are my two Instagrams, and you can also find me on my website. All of my workshops and programs, stuff like that, are there. It is movingpeoplefitness.bigcartel, BIGCARTEL.com. The Instagram, you can always message me, ask any questions, and I'm responsive and there and putting up posts as much as I can.
This is really nice. We'll add all of these profile accounts to the goodinmotion.ca website. So if you are not able, if you are driving or running or doing something else, we got them for you. You can find them on the website. So thank you so much, Nawa, for this conversation, and I'll see you soon.